This is getting really bad. The United States has already been put on their watch list as a human rights abuser. I don't think there's any doubt now, is there? I've got a little video clip here for you to show you. You see, the people are being nabbed, dragged out of their beds, or taken at the border by ICE, immigration control, whatever, and taken to immigration centres without any due process whatsoever. No investigation of who they are. And if these immigration customs officers make any mistakes of any kind, well, you'll be lucky to get out. They don't want to admit their mistakes, because that means that they're failed, you see. And they are making a lot of mistakes. You see, legal people are being nabbed. They are basically being disappeared in the United States. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Anyone who knows me, I don't lie. This is just repeating what I've read or seen in videos, what have you, and this video in particular, which is about this guy's neighbour who was nabbed, disappeared by ICE. And it is shocking, it's sad, but also people are watching. Businessmen are watching. Holidaymakers, tourists are watching. And they're saying to themselves, well, I don't know if I want to take the risk. Which is obviously not very good for a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States. It's not very good for, obviously, business either. If even businessmen who've got visas or green cards, whatever, they travel regularly over the border, whether it be by plane or by road, and they're getting stopped and nabbed and disappeared. Would you take the risk? I know I wouldn't. You see, there are other options now, isn't there? There's other options such as, Zoom, for instance. We learned that from COVID. There's other ways to communicate. And you can, do a conference even via a big screen. That's what Elon Musk did. To the AfD in Germany, the Alternative for Deutschland party, the fascist Nazi party, that obviously old Elon Musk is quite happy to go to, if you know what I mean, or participate in, even if it is through a Zoom call. Oh, he did try using his own platform before, but it crashed, didn't it? Remember that with Donald Trump, yeah. Yeah, great at tech, isn't he? You're only as good as the people you got around you, you know that. Okay, so I always said that with my work, isn't it? I'm only as good as the people that I employ, or train, and employ. So let me get on to this little video clip here. It's a couple of minutes long.
Because he speaks Spanish. The cops demanded his papers.
There we go.
One of my neighbors was kidnapped yesterday. Sometimes I speak in metaphor. This isn't that. A local father and husband who lives very close to me was stolen from his family and our community. If it's too much to listen to the rest of this, I understand. Just know this is also a fundraising request for his family. Link in description. His wife of 20 years, who's never spent a day away from him, is sobbing as she makes food and tends their children, wakes up alone, makes coffee without him. I know because as I'm writing this, I'm sitting in her kitchen listening to her. This man was here completely legally, specifically under temporary protected status. It happened like this. His nephew was pulled over for driving 8 miles an hour over the speed limit in a 55 zone, which is to say he was pulled over for driving while brown in Maine. He was on a valid out-of-state license and didn't know that he had to transfer his license within 30 days, which was over. If he'd been white, he wouldn't have been pulled over for doing 63 in a 55, and they would have just told him to go on his way and update his license when he got a chance, but he's Latino, so they gave him a $450 ticket and told him he had to find someone else to drive the car home. He called his uncle, who happily came out, displayed his legal Maine license to the cops. Purely because he speaks Spanish, the cops demanded his papers. They took pictures of everyone on their personal phones, informed dispatch, and dispatch called Border Patrol, who came and kidnapped both the uncle and the guy who was driving's wife. They released the guy who was driving's wife alone at 1 a.m. in the middle of the woods, 2.5 hours north of her home and family. This is a beautiful young woman in her early 20s who speaks no English, thrown into the north woods alone at night with no idea where she is. They kept the uncle. ICE refused to tell anyone where he was, denied he was in custody for hours, His son was calling repeatedly and asking, and they said, nope, nobody here. Finally, he was able to call his family, tell them he'd been in custody all along. Now, his family is terrified to go outside and terrified to be at home. This is a legal resident of the U.S. here with proper documentation, kidnapped by a secret police force and taken to an undisclosed location. His family is left without their beloved husband, father, and uncle, and without their primary breadwinner. I wish you could see his wife sobbing and screaming, talking about how in 20 years they've never spent a day apart, how she can't eat because of how horrifying the not knowing is, not knowing where he is, what's being done to him, what their family will do if he's kept in some black site forever, deported to a labor camp in some country he's never been to, how she's terrified to speak about it at all publicly because she fears blowback against her children and family. This is happening to my neighbors in a town of 1,200 people in rural Maine, and most of my neighbors have no idea because the family is too terrified to talk about it. This is happening to your neighbors. People are being disappeared. Families of legal immigrants are being torn apart as we speak. The level of grief and anger that I'm navigating is pretty high. I feel physically sick to my stomach with it. I feel an itch towards action, increasing every day like a constant physical pull. One of my neighbors was kidnapped yesterday. Sometimes I speak in metaphor. This isn't that. A local father.
No, check it out. It is true. Because he was quite prepared. It was like he was had to put it very fluid, but it is what's happened, and it's just shocking. It's shocking to see the direction that the United States has gone in, and the people of the United States, what they voted for. Now, I would argue that maybe it wasn't a majority. There's quite a lot of evidence to suggest that there wasn't a majority for Donald Trump. Like it or lump it, but I think they are probably the facts. What next, eh? What next? Where was this going to end? When is this going to end? And where is it heading? Because it's not getting any better. It's not getting any... Well, it's definitely going to help your economy for a start, because you need these people. We know that already. The farmers are crying out for them. I'm not saying that he was a farmer, the guy that got nabbed, I don't know. But, it's we do know that a lot of the undocumented migrants who are working on the farms are literally just moved on to other places where they feel safer. It's so reckless. It's reckless and it's inhumane. And I don't think the United States is going to be able to recover from this. If you think of times of slavery and what have you, and there's still a lot of resentment from black communities regarding slavery. Huge amount. And now it's all been raked up again. That sentiment. With Donald Trump basically just wiping off all the national holidays, Martin Luther King and what have you, and it's like it never existed. These people are disgusting. Who voted for Donald Trump, let alone Donald Trump and these Republicans. And they're also disgusting. Now, if Trump and his ilk, if they don't get rid of or change the rules regarding 2 terms, I think the voter is going to remember this. Because don't forget, a lot of Latinos voted for Donald Trump as well. Which boggles the mind, to be frank. Also, a lot of blacks voted for Donald Trump, which also boggles the mind. Now, if you've got a job anywhere in the federal government, as far as this government's concerned, just because you're black, you are not hired on the basis of your skills, your abilities, your experience. You were only, hired on the basis of DEI. No investigation, no, looking into see, whether or not you were the person for the job. As far as they're concerned, you're just a DEI hire. You'll be next. You'll get nabbed. Be put in work camps probably. In El Salvador. I wouldn't rule it out, I really wouldn't. Not with this government. And not with Tom Homan, that fascist geezer, the one he swore to be, you know what I mean? I'm sorry it's a bit dark, this video, but it's what's at the end of the day, if it looks like a duck and behaving like a duck, it is a duck, isn't it? Well, in this case, a fascist, a Nazi. A Nazi's regime. This isn't a government. This is a regime. Anyway, what do you reckon? Please leave in the comments down below. If you've got any stories like that, I'd be very interested in making videos about that sort of stuff. Please or send it via maybe our website or allshorts.eu, or leave it in the comments. Oh, anyway, please hit the like button, maybe subscribe to the channel, little bell icon, so you get one fuzzy thing in your pocket, or depressing one, every time I upload another video. And if you want to support the channel, you can pay for the bars of coffee, and the links are down below. And I couldn't actually do the channel without your support, I really couldn't. I'd have to get a job. Totally. Give me work in the fields, yes. Oh, blimey! I'm useless with this feckin' button.